Prospera continues to be a top-tier Char clone, and Shaddiq's shady plans don't exactly work out.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Powerful Nerdcast assembled!
Stay dandy, baby. Greetings, my fellow mecha fans. It's time to talk about the latest episode of G-Witch, an episode which will go down in infamy. And that's saying a lot because there's a lot of infamous moments from this series, but this is the one that's truly starting to build up to what could potentially be the finale of the entire series. I still believe there should be at least another couple of seasons to develop this one just a little bit more, but it's very obvious that we're rebuilding to a very large, massive finale of a conflict. This episode right here is very important. I hope you've all been taking notes from the beginning because there's some pretty big revelations in this episode and lots of shocking scenes, so let's talk about the best parts. Before we get to the powder keg scene of this episode, let's talk a little bit about Suletta, who is still reeling from the end of the last episode of being abandoned by her mother and her sister, Eri, and now she's left at the Earth House all alone. And I do like that it doesn't seem like we're going to be spending a tremendous amount of time of her going through a lot of turmoil because God knows, I just don't think we can deal with that much more of it. But it is cool that all of her friends at the Earth House are being incredibly supportive of her. She realizes she simply just doesn't have to rely on her mother or Miorine. She's got a whole host of people who really do care about her and want to take care of her. The power of friendship, am I right? We also get a little bit of resolution with everything that's been going on with Martin. There's a surprisingly great scene between him and Cecilia, where it turns out she's not such a mega cunt after all. In fact, her dialogue with Martin in this episode is actually kind of crucial to some development for him, as he's able to return to the Earth House and sort of spill his guts to everybody about everything that's going on with Nika, and of course, they all forgive him. But now, it's time to take a trip to Earth. I gotta say, during this entire sequence, I was just on the edge of my seat, waiting for something really bad to happen, and eventually it does. But most of this episode does a pretty good job of building up more of the conflict of everything that's going on between those on Earth and those in space. And of course, Miorine's big plan is simply to go down and try and have a dialogue with everybody who's involved with the higher politics on Earth, and predictably, it doesn't really go all that well at first. Miorine has great intentions. She wants to make things better. She wants to open up a dialogue between these people, but the fact of the matter is they've been pushed, they've been pulled, and they've been killed. They've had enough, and the only way they're going to get results is by doing something different. Luckily, Miorine, while she is a little misguided in her way of actually doing things, does manage to convince them that if she allows herself to become president, this could mean big things for the future of people on Earth, in particular with the implementation of Gundam technology, the medical technology, and that's something that really does mean a lot to the people of Earth. And it seems like these negotiations are actually going to go into a pretty good place. But while all of this is going on, we have Gwael and Kananji who are going on their own little adventure in this episode. They actually meet up with that one child who was a member of the Dawn of Fold a couple of episodes ago, and they end up talking to him a little bit, and this kid is really interested in actually wanting to go to the Asakasia school. He wants to leave Earth and really apply himself and see if he has some sort of a bright future. The problem is that when he actually starts doing all of this, he's claiming that he wants to do this because of the influence of another character who he refers to simply as the Prince. And Kananji actually recognizes this and realizes that he's talking about none other than Shaddiq. That's when he puts the pieces of the puzzle together. He realizes that Shaddiq has actually been the one who's been sort of like funding the Dawn of Fold themselves, which of course causes both him and Gwael to have this massive revelation as they prepare to leave and try to get some sort of evidence behind this, because without that, there's not really much they're going to be able to do. So they make their way back to space, and it looks like everything is going to wrap up all nicely. That is until Prospera decides to take things into her very own hands. You see, with the power of Ariel, she's able to create a false flag confrontation, basically forcing those on Earth to suddenly attack her. This one soldier who freaks out. Basically, she launches this massive sort of like shield up into the city, which basically just covers up everything, getting their attention, causing them to freak out and attack, which gives her the opportunity to actually go into action herself. And it's all a part of a big secret plan that she has in order to find their secret mobile suit factoring places. It essentially gives her the perfect opportunity to find this secret facility where we get to see that the Dawn of Fold is actually actually creating all of these mobile suits, in particular these Gundams, giving her the opportunity to take them out while also setting up more conflict between Earth and space, which I'm sure she's going to use as sort of a foothold in order to enact her grand plan. Basically, she's playing both sides in order to enact her very own grand plan, while also placing all of the blame on Mercury. But let's talk about the Space Assembly League for a second. They have a couple of agents that we've seen a couple of times, in particular Feng Jun, who actually ends up getting a hold of Belmoria and wants to sort of bring her into the group as she's sort of secretly investigating everything that's going on with their organization, and they seem to be trying to start some sort of like anti-war faction, and this is something that Prospera does not want, as it is going to interfere with her plans. And in a sudden tragic moment, it seems like Feng Jun is going to be killed in this episode by one of Prospera's aides as Belmoria makes her escape. So to my understanding, and I might be a little confused by some of this, and I would really appreciate some of you guys in the comment section to maybe clear this up, because this is a little hard for me to, piece together, but from what I understand, the Space Assembly League is essentially funding the Dawn of Fold, which also has an association with Ox Earth House, which is of course the group that was involved in the Vanity Institute incident at the very beginning in the prologue of the series. And essentially what's going on here is they've been sort of like funding this group because they want to take down Bennett Group, because basically they're getting a little too big for their very own britches. This also connects with everything that's going on with Shadiq as well, and I have to say that in this episode, when he finally is revealed to be the one that's connected to the Dawn of Fold, we finally get to see him acting a little freaked out for the very first time, which was actually kind of pleasant to see, and most importantly, it seems like it's going to lead to one hell of a conflict between him and Gwail. I have a feeling they're going to end up throwing arms with each other in probably some sort of big epic mobile suit battle, and it'll also be really great development for Gwail as well, as he will potentially be able to get revenge for his father, who is also played by Shadiq as well. Also, how could I not mention that one scene with Noria, Alon, and Nika? It seems like she's starting to get a little bit of cabin fever and starting to lose her mind a little bit more, as she just freaks the absolute hell out in this episode, again trying to attack Alon and breaking down in the process over the death of her treasured friend Sophie. I don't know where they're gonna go with these characters either, but this scene just absolutely ripped me to shreds. And one more final thing that I do want to mention, something that I found pretty interesting, is the fact that Suletta actually has a sudden realization. It seems like she wasn't outright betrayed by Eri, her sister, but maybe she was actually being helped out by her in order to get her away from her mother. In a way, Eri was protecting Suletta, and I really just want to see these characters come together yet again to have some sort of grand reunion. I want to see some sort of semblance of happiness for her character and sort of to reclaim what her family really is. Basically, I just want all the happiness for Suletta. She's been through so much shit. Now Miorine is going through some suffering. I just really want to see how these characters are eventually going to come back together. And it also raises another interesting question. Who's gonna pilot that brand new Gundam, the Schwarzette? I mean, one of two things could happen. I mean, it could go to Gwail, which makes sense. It is in the Jeddirk house, and he could use that to go up against Shadiq. But it would also be really cool to see Suletta actually pilot that mobile suit and make it her very own personal MS. But that's going to be interesting. I mean, is she literally going to battle against her very own mother here? It's going to be very hard to say, and I just don't know what to predict. I don't even know if I'm qualified or smart enough to even talk about that. I mean, I've said it many times in the past. I like Gundam for the mecha. I love the story and the characters as well, and this one is just getting tremendously more complex with every single episode. But again, that also happens to be the absolute best thing about The Witch from Mercury. It's amazing storytelling and the fact that it just manages to surprise me with every single episode. It's not just about the giant robots and the cool battle scenes, it's the amazing story that's unfolding and how there's just no way that I can even predict what is going to happen. It's multifaceted, it's layered, it's deep, it's one of the best Gundam anime series to come out in years. If you yourself are a fan of the franchise, you must check it out. And I loved this episode. Again, I don't quite know how they're going to be able to wrap up this entire season and make it feel complete. I feel like there could be so much more for the future of this series, but that remains to be seen. Like I said, I really like this one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it as well. Make sure to sound off in the comments section below, telling me what you thought about this episode, the shocking moments, the crazy moments, and what you hope to see from the eventual finale, and of course any predictions you have for the future of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.